Hey, welcome back. So, back with another reaction video this time. Another lighthearted one. So, I'm going to be doing another Walter's World review. This one is things not to do in the South. And this is a Southerner's perspective. I've grown up in the South, and I've also traveled across the majority of the United States at this point, so I can put some insight in there. So yeah, let's just jump right into it and yeah, see how this goes. All right, the don'ts of visiting the South, and I'm assuming, like the last one, it's going to be aimed at Savannah, Georgia, but we'll see. We'll see how generalized he gets with this one.
Travelers, Mark here with Wolter's World, and today we are here in Savannah, Georgia. And today we're going to cover a few are the don'ts of visiting the south of the U.S., and specifically the southeast, the deep south, the Georgia, Alabama, Louisiana, South Carolina, this kind of stuff, because there's some things you should know that are
Okay, great.
different than the traditional don'ts of the U.S. They're specific in general. There's some we want to focus on just for here in the south. And the
Gotta add, Louisiana sweet tea is the best and the only sweet tea that I will ever make in my house. So good.
first don't I have for you is don't forget your manners. Look, manners are a huge thing in the South. Whether you're a little kid or you're an old man, you need to have your manners when you're here. You do use your pleases and thank yous and yes ma'am and yes sir and things like that. That is not optional. That is how you speak when you're here, and you always show people respect, especially people that are older than you, okay? So you will be holding the door for people and things like that. And I'll tell you, don't you ever let an old Southern woman or an old Southern man or anyone that seems older than you stand up. You always give up your chair to the older ladies or the older gentlemen when you are there because it is a sign of respect. That's how it works here in the South, because manners are a huge thing when you are here. And another thing is don't forget to smile.
Let's just be honest. You should do that anyway, right? You should. And um, don't get me wrong, I understand it's a different world we live in, but you gotta keep in mind, like people 80 years old shouldn't be standing if they could be sitting. So it's like just let them sit down. I mean, it's not what's it to you, right? You should do that anyway. Like in Southern or not, it's just good, man. It's just good and polite.
When you are here, you'll see how happy and friendly the people are. And one of the parts that is just this happy-go-lucky nature that you have here in the South. So don't forget to smile because you will have a good time. And with that is, don't be surprised if people randomly start up conversations with you when you are here in the South. Going grocery shopping, if you pass by somebody maybe twice.
Oh God, I catch myself doing that all the time, even outside of the South, and people give me weird looks. I'll be in the elevator in Canada, and it's just in our nature to do that. Start talking about the weather, whatever it is. Not always, but a good percentage of the time. So you'll be sitting in the checkout line just waiting, and it's just awkward. And so you strike up a conversation to ease that kind of awkwardness, and it's really nice. And um, it is definitely something you experience more in the South. I see it a lot. People just talking about anything and everything. They definitely aren't ashamed to do so.
In two different aisles, don't be surprised you strike up a conversation out of the blue on the next aisle. It is a completely normal thing here because the Southerners are
Sorry,
super friendly.
sorry, just making sure I'm actually recording this time.
I know we were at a restaurant here in town a couple days ago. My credit card fell through the crack in the floor that goes like a deck kind of thing that they had built up. They pried up the floor to get my card out. I'm like, dude, I can call and cancel the card. It's okay. They're like, no, we got this taken care of. The people in the South are super friendly, so don't freak out about it. It's not fake. They are really that friendly and that helpful. So don't be scared to ask for help when you come here. That's another don't I have for you, because you're going to see towns like
I will say this. Asking for help is actually a good way to meet people in the South. Um, it, it it's opening yourself up to some sort of vulnerability in a way, and it allows the people to be helpful, and people in the South love to be helpful, and I know that's the case for a large percentage of people in the South. If they can, they want to help whenever and however they can. You can lead that to the uh, religious upbringing or what have you, but I know a lot of people in the South who'd be willing to give you the shirt off their back if it helps you some way, legitimately.
Savannah or Charleston. There's so much history here. You're not sure what should I be looking at here. I mean, you have this picture. What should I look at? Well, you got the cotton exchange right there. Like, oh, there's a historic building. And you got the fountains, and you got the Capitol building. You have these things.
Oh, good Lord. Now I got to get some boiled peanuts. Yes, I said boiled peanuts. Um, you can get Cajun and you can get regular, and usually you buy them in a styrofoam cup about yay tall. It's about this big. The I don't know, 64-ounce cup. I don't know, but it's like that big around. Get a cup that big of just boiled peanuts. The Cajun boiled peanuts, you get them at gas stations, out of this world. You just suck the juice out, crack it open, pop the peanuts out. It's out of this world. So, so good.
You're like, wow, it is kind of a cool thing to check out, but you want to know more. And the Southerners do have a lot of pride in their hometowns, in their home states and stuff like that, that they will share that with you. So don't be afraid to ask, hey, we're the best biscuits in town. We're going to get the best, the strongest drinks in town. They will be friendly and they will help you out.
Me too, little guy. Me too.
Wow. One of the things is when you do talk to the Southerners, you might notice that sometimes they're an accent. And what I will say is, don't think that that accent makes them stupid, okay? Just because someone has an accent doesn't make them like not know something or be less intelligent or whatever. And you have this stereotype that TV and radio and movies really kind of promote is, oh, if you got an accent, you must be some kind of hillbilly. Do not think that the Southerners are hillbillies. Don't think their accent makes them stupid. It's not the case. You can have some great conversations with people when you are here, and they'll know more than you actually think they do. And so I want to give you the heads up on that. And another don't I have with you is when you are here and you do bring your kids, don't be surprised if your kids are acting up, if the locals will tell your kid, hey, straighten up, hey, get it together. You will.
Okay, so this depends on where you're at and what your kid's doing. So obviously, it really depends on the situation. Um, Personally, I don't really want people raising my kids. My kid's misbehaving. You should come to me first, and then let me handle it with my kid because my kid doesn't know you. So I don't have any kids, but if I did, that would be my mentality on it. Not to mention, things have changed drastically. Modern times, adults shouldn't be approaching and talking to kids the way they used to. So maybe that's a sad fact of the world now, the United States now. But yeah, back in the day when I was growing up, sure, absolutely, I would agree with him 100%. And definitely in certain parts of the South, you'd still get away with this. Not everywhere.
We'll see that here. People do scold other people's kids when you're here in the South. And I know if you're in the North or you're in California, West Coast or something like that, and someone tells your kid, hey, watch it, kid, you're like, don't tell my kid what to do. I've had people do that to us before. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, your kid just kicked me. Am I supposed to let your kid, hit me or something? Here, that stuff doesn't fly. Your kid's acting obnoxious.
I will agree. If my kid's hitting you, yeah, take care of it.
Be prepared to have people call you out on that because remember, number one, manners, okay? And that goes from young to old. So make sure little Johnny or little Susie know that, hey, you say yes, ma'am, yes, sir, please and thank you, and you don't make a mess, all right? So just a heads up on that one. Now, when they do call out your kids for the behavior, they're not judging you and judging your parental skills and stuff like that. What they kind of do here in the South is it's the old mantra, it takes a village to raise a child, and so the whole village is helping out raising the child, okay? So don't be offended by it. Because you know what? It is hot when you're here, and that's my next don't is don't melt when you come to the South. Look, July and August, oppressive heat in pretty much the entire deep South, and in lots of places, oppressive humidity, like you walk out, you're like, oh, I'm gonna melt.
Yeah, it's hot. It's very hot.
Oh, help me God. You do have that when you are here. So if you're going to come, there's a reason why so many people winter in the South, because it's got nice weather in the winter. So come down here from October till April, and you're not going to have the insane heat. You're going to have nice weather.
And depends on where you're at. Also, lately it's been hot. I'd say 9 out of 12 months. So you get 3 months of moderate weather, but that's about it.
Weather and less humidity. But don't expect to not die of the heat and humidity if you do come in July and August. So I'll be honest with that. It can be pretty bad, okay? And I guess one of the other don'ts I'll have for you is if you're really hot and you want to get a drink and you go in, they might ask you, hey, what kind of Coke do you want? You're like, what? So my thing is, don't think that Coke just means Coke. Here, a lot of
Yeah, that's true. Absolutely accurate. No matter where you go, anywhere in the South, if I go to a restaurant, you hear it all the time. What kind of Coke do y'all have? It's just the way it is. It means soda. It means fountain drink, beverage. But we don't say that. It's just Coke. Give me a Coke. Oh, what kind of Coke? Oh, Sprite. Give me Sprite. Yeah, it's just the way it is.
lot of times what you'll see is they'll say, hey, what kind of Coke you want? They mean, what kind of soda would you like? What kind of pop or sody pop or drink? It's just the word they use for soda is Coke, okay? So don't freak out. You're like, I don't drink Coke. Yeah, I know. We have lots of different Cokes, Sprite, Dr. Pepper, whatever. You do have that when you are here. Now, the last few years, I've definitely seen a drop off in the number of places where they do use Coke as the de facto word for soda or soda pop. So you might not see it too often, but occasionally you will. So I just want to give you that heads up. And the thing is, if you're gonna meet up with Southerners to have a drink, whether it's a Coke or a beer or whatever, is you gotta realize is don't expect the Southerners to be on time. There's definitely a much more last.
Okay. Yes and no. Depends on the person. I like to be on time personally, because I want to party. If I'm expecting you to come over and party, I want to party. Let's have a good time. So that's just me. I do know people who are late notoriously to everything, and I can definitely agree with you know, I know people who tell you if they're on their way, they'll say I'm down the street or and they're still 15, 20 minutes away. So, or they may be an hour from being there. They're just now getting ready. So that's just the way it is sometimes.
Laissez-faire attitude with time here in the South. And as Jocelyn will tell you, look, with this kind of humidity, how's my hair going to dry? You know, these kind of things, it takes a little bit more time. Or Jocelyn will tell me, hey, I've got to get my face on. Look, the thing is time is very relevant here.
Did y'all see that? That's what you call the 5 second rule in action. We'll back it up. He fell. That crawfish fell. He picked it right back up, put it on the pot. Ain't nobody gonna care.
So if you're setting up a time, hey, let's meet at 8 o'clock, they might not be there till 8:30 or something like that or later. And don't worry if they write, she's like, oh,
Crawfish looks so dang good. I love crawfish. It's good. I like crawfish better than I like lobster. Sue me.
we're on our way, and that means like I'm getting in the shower, okay? So the more time you spend here, you'll realize that, yeah, on time, not always a thing to expect to have here. Now, going back to that drinky kind of thing, another thing you need to know is when you when you get tea here, don't think your tea is going to be unsweetened, okay? In the South, you drink sweet tea, period, end of story. Unsweetened tea belongs in one place, down a drain, all right? So if you're gonna get tea, it's gonna be sweet tea.
I will say this too. Most places carry both sweet and unsweet. Uh, and the unsweet is almost always on the verge of going bad because no one drinks it.
All right, and it's really good. And don't think that sweet tea is tea plus sugar. No, no, no. For all my friends, when you go to a restaurant in the north and you ask for sweet tea, they say, oh, I have sugar packets with the tea. You're like, no, that's not the same thing.
No, that's a sin.
All right, so don't expect unsweetened tea when you're here. But the thing is if you're looking at food, honestly, if you're gonna be coming to the South, don't bring tight clothes, or at least bring a belt
Oh, it's banana pudding. Awesome banana pudding.
with
Oh,
a couple extra loops on it, because you're gonna eat so much when you're here, because there's so much good food, from the fried chicken, the biscuits, the grits.
all right, Waffle House. Yes, Waffle House is perfect for Well, any time of day, really, but the best time for Waffle House is 2 a.m. A long day, maybe a couple drinks in. Go to Waffle House, get you the All Star, or get you a scramble hash brown scramble bowl with some gravy. Oh, it's out of this world. I love Waffle House.
Oh my God. The barbecue, there's so much fantastic food that, yes, you will get quite big when you are here. I mean, I'll show you a picture of before I started coming to the South, and this is what I look like now, okay? So heads up with that. So don't forget a bit more room in your clothing when you are here. Now, my next stones kind of focus on some misconceptions of Southern food. No, they don't fry everything, but they do fry a lot. But honestly, my biggest stone would be that, look, don't think that barbecue goes on the grill. The grilling things you grill on your barbecue at home is hot dogs and burgers and steaks. Barbecue here in the South
See, that's a cookout, that's grilling, but barbecue, smoked all day, baby, all night even.
is smoked meat. Whether it
Hmm.
is, of course, a butt, a Boston butt, oh my God, pulled pork is fantastic. Or you're having brisket or whatever.
This Walter here is tripping over himself because it's just so good. Like just thinking about it makes you want it even more. And I just had it, and I still want it. Actually, I got some nachos in the fridge. I might eat those barbecue nachos in the fridge.
You have the
Mm.
smoked meat that's been on there for hours and
Hey, you're
hours, and it
making me
makes it all
hungry, man.
succulent and juicy, and it's so good. And that's why when you're in the South, you're eating barbecue all over the place. Because the thing is if you're thinking that barbecue is just grilled meat, think about it. If you put a steak or any kind of meat on your grill straight on the flames for 7 hours, you know what you'd have? Charcoal, okay? It's not the same thing. So don't think barbecue is on the grill. It's in a smoker, just sucking in all those flavors. So definitely get barbecue when you are here. I'm not gonna lie to you. Another don't I have for you actually dealing with those barbecue thing is don't be surprised if the barbecue sauce you have varies from state to state. So here
100%. You'll have some that are sweeter, some that are more vinegary. There's just a huge plethora of in between. Some that are fruity, some that aren't, some that are smoky, rich, and just creamy. You have the white Alabama white sauce, famously. It's a barbecue sauce that's white and creamy, delicious, by the way. Um, yeah, no, it varies drastically. My preference is sweet, but not super thick barbecue sauce. I like a little bit runny, but super, like I like sweet barbecue, like smoky sweet.
here in Georgia, we have sweet barbecue sauce, right? But if you go to South Carolina, it's like a barbecue-based barbecue sauce. If you go to North Carolina, it's a vinegar-based barbecue sauce. If you go to Memphis, well, Memphis, they use a dry rub on their ribs. And so you have all these different kinds of barbecue you could have. I mean, I was in Alabama, and oh my God, I had some fantastic ribs when I was there. And here in Savannah, I'm doing the pulled pork. And I mean, you just have all these different variations. So don't think, oh, I'm doing a Southern tour. We had barbecue in North Carolina. I don't need to have it again. You should because it will be different in each place you go. And one thing that kind of goes
100%. You should, if you're visiting anywhere and you're doing multiple places, get barbecue from everywhere. And look up the highest rated place that you can find because it is worth it 100%.
along with the regional differences in the barbecue is also don't think that all the South is the same. I mean, if you're going to Atlanta, it's a very different experience than coming here to Savannah or going to Charleston, which is very different than going to New Orleans or Natchez in Mississippi, or going to Memphis versus Nashville or Knoxville, or going to the Outer Banks and these kind of things. You have a lot of different kind of regional differences in the South, whether it's geography, whether it's people, whether it's food and cuisine and stuff like that. And yes, different types of barbecue that are out there. So don't think it's all the same. And don't think, well, I went to Atlanta, I saw the South. No, you saw part of the South. So go and explore.
I'd be willing to argue that you go to Atlanta, you see the city South, and you don't see the South. So I agree with him. If you go to Atlanta, get outside. Go north, go south, doesn't matter. Just get outside the city, get to a small town in Georgia, and that's the South. Same thing. Come east or come west and come across the state line in Alabama. Then we'll talk.
Or more of it. Another don't I have for you has to do with that beautiful Spanish moss you see behind me. See it just kind of dripping.
See, you'll see that a lot more on coastal regions. We don't have Spanish moss, a lot of Spanish moss back home. Couples, couple swampy areas maybe, but you don't see that back in my town. You don't see it in a lot of towns inland in the South. Like, so in the deep country, the forest, you're not going to see this. But in the coastal regions like Savannah, like South Alabama, in Fairhope and Daphne and Robertsdale, you may see more.
Down there. Oh, it is so cool. And you want to go and grab some and hold it like, oh, should I wear it as a shawl? Look, my don't for you is if you're in the coastal part of the South and you see Spanish moss, don't touch it. There's little buggies in there. There's little chiggers in there that will bite you and bite you and bite you and you get all itchy and stuff like that. So don't try to make your own I'm going to be Mark Wolter's picture and stuff it in your shirt so you get a big belly like me. Don't do that, okay? Because that stuff, man, you'll be like, can't make it stop. And that's more, I mean, most people would know to do that, not to do that, but I have seen a lot of kids, they'll go and start playing with it and their parents don't realize it, so I want to make sure you know, don't play with the Spanish moss. Now, a fashion don't I have for you, and I know I am not the person to listen to about fashion, and that's okay, is if you're a tourist, don't worry if you feel underdressed. Look,
Ain't nobody caring about how you dressed at all. There are very rare circumstances. Blue jeans, t-shirt, you're good to go. Shorts, t-shirt, you're good to go. It don't matter. Now, you're gonna see things like spandex and people who may or may not should be wearing spandex, but that's part of that's anywhere you go.
here in the South, you can, I mean, there's fashion, all fashion is acceptable here. You'll see people wearing flip-flops and G-strings, and you'll see people wearing their Southern gentleman best and their seersucker suits. You'll see that.
I do wonder what he means by G-strings there, for sure, because I don't see anyone walking around with just a G-string on. If I did, I'd probably call them out and tell them to go get some clothes on, because a G-string is too revealing for public.
And the thing is, though, if you go to, for example, you go to a football game in Georgia, guess what? You'll see people in heels. We were at the grocery store at Publix, and people are doing their grocery shopping in heels. It's not an uncommon thing. So don't feel that you have to dress up that nice. I mean, don't get me wrong, people will be appreciative of it, but you don't have to dress up that nice when you are here. So another don't in the South is don't mess with the mayonnaise. And in the South, you got two great mayonnaise. The best is Duke's. This is what you always want to get.
I'm a little impartial to Bama mayonnaise, but I'm a weird one. I know my family they love mayonnaise, family members. I'm not a mayonnaise fan. Had too much of it growing up. I eat it on egg sandwiches, tuna salad, but that's about the extent of my mayonnaise because it's not good for you. Doesn't taste all that good, and it's very greasy in texture, slimy. Um, it's really good for frying up a grilled cheese sandwich, though. If you do the outside of your bread, you smack it in the pan, or the pan's nice and hot, it sears that mayonnaise right up and it crisps it up better than butter. Delicious. But that's after frying it. Um, but Bama mayonnaise, Hellman's mayonnaise, I don't know anyone who actually eats Blue Plate anymore. I don't think I do. Duke's is all right, but he's going to say no Cool Whip or Miracle Whip, I'm sure.
Get. Blue Plate, also very much an acceptable kind of thing. Not Miracle Whip, no, never that. But Duke's, Blue Plate, you'll be good to go, and you'll get it on all kinds of stuff. Now, another Southern food I want to give you a don't for are grits, okay? And my thing is, don't think grits are just for breakfast. Because when you see grits, they look like a cream of wheat or an oatmeal or a porridge kind of thing. But the thing is, they do look like that, but they're actually made out of hominy. If you're not sure what hominy is, it's like a corn derivative, so you do have that. But the thing is, you look at it, you think, oh, this is going to be like a porridge. It's only for breakfast. Oh, no, 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 no. Grits are good anytime.
See, this is the thing, right? Grits in the South, we eat for breakfast with butter, cheese, maybe a little salt and pepper, fine. But if you're talking like fancy grits, grits with sausage in it, shrimp and grits, that kind of stuff, that's going to be lunch and dinner, almost always.
Time of the day. You can have normal plain grits or cheese grits.
Oh, grits with fried eggs and sausage, out of this world. It's classic.
It's always good. My personal favorite, if you're looking for something like a lunch or a dinner thing, shrimp and grits. Oh my God, it is so good. So don't think grits are just for breakfast. It may look like it, but it so isn't. And going along with that, don't think biscuits are the same here as well, because biscuits in the South, there's a different kind of flour they use. So make sure if you get a chance to grab some biscuits whenever you can, because oh my God, they are so good.
Not just the flour. It's the flour, the buttermilk, It's the love that they put into kneading that biscuit dough. There's a couple places, actually, there's a place in North Carolina called Biscuitville that makes a dang good Southern biscuit. It's out of this world. They're only open from like 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. I think, but they're fantastic. Um, Homemade biscuits are just unbeatable. There's a local chain. I say local chain. It's a chain restaurant. It's fast food, but they make biscuits fresh every morning. It's Jack's Family Restaurant in the South, uh, mostly in central and northern Alabama and the borders of Alabama, but doesn't go too much further south than that. So, but it is delicious, and their biscuits are great. If to give an example of the difference, so Chick-fil-A has a biscuit. And I know Chick-fil-A is pretty much nationwide now, and if you've had their breakfast, Chick-fil-A's biscuits are very light and very crumbly, whereas a real buttermilk biscuit, the edge will be crispy and crunchy. It won't be crumbly as much, and it'll be a little bit denser and just butterier. It's so good.
Seriously, don't pass up the food in the South. I've said it before, I'll say it again. It is so good, from the fried chicken to the pecan pie to, oh my God, anything you have here is
Pecan
awesome. The
pie.
thing is, if you're going to cities like Savannah, you'll have traditional Southern cuisine, collards and stuff like that. But you also have newer kind of fusion kind of Southern food, so you can have all kinds of great mixes. Now, another thing you should know is when you come to the South, I know when people come from around the world to come visit the U.S., we have a very popular sport here in the U.S. we call football, or you might call American football. And here in the South, it's like a religion. People love their SEC football. They have their Georgia Bulldog shirts on, or their Alabama, the Crimson Tide, or LSU, or whatever. They really love their football in the South, okay? And so if you're going to make this thing, oh, it's boring, soccer's.
So he already went over this. I'm not going to add much to this, so I'm just going to skip ahead a little bit. He went over this in his previous video and the previous reaction. So if you want to check out my thoughts on football, check out that video.
Better or basketball's better, just don't. I'm telling you right now, it is not worth the headache of the discussion, because they love their football here. They're super passionate about it. And don't pass up the chance to go to a football game on a Saturday in the fall, because it'll be a great experience, not just for the game, but don't miss out on tailgating, the party before the game, when you're grilling out and you're drinking beer with your buddies and stuff like that. It's a whole experience, and you'll see that, wow, why is it from on this Saturday, it's from 3 till 6, the city was empty? Oh, because the Georgia Bulldogs were playing, and so everybody in town was watching the game. You do have that when you are here. And I guess another don't I'll give you is when you're preparing for that tailgate and you're going to the grocery store or the grocery, when you get your stuff, that little thing you fill up with all the groceries, that thing you push around, don't call it a cart here. It's called a buggy, all right? It's a buggy you push around. And my last don't for you is don't skip out.
Call it whatever the hell you want. Nobody cares. We know what you mean if you say shopping cart. We know what you mean if you say cart. We know what you mean if you say buggy. Hey, you want to call it that thingamajig over there that has wheels that you push around? Go for it. Nobody cares. But if I did have to choose, it is a buggy.
On visiting the South, you will fall in love with it, with amazing architecture, amazing people, tons of beautiful towns to visit. You go.
Just watching this makes me want to go back to Savannah. Savannah is a gorgeous place, and there's really good foods in Savannah. So beautiful.
Go to Natchez, Mississippi, on the Mississippi River, and seeing all the homes there, or visiting New Orleans and seeing the history there and the Creole culture, or maybe you're heading up to Oxford, Mississippi, where Ole Miss is, or you're heading through Alabama, or you're coming here into Savannah, Georgia, or going to Charleston, or hitting Atlanta, the mega metropolis of the South, going up to Asheville for amazing beer, or hitting the Outer Banks. There's so much great things to enjoy in the South that you really want to go and explore. And that's why I tell people, don't try to see the whole U.S. Pick a region and focus on that. And the South is a great region to see, because you can drive around lots of places. The roads are good because there's no freezing and thawing, so the highways stay even, which is awesome. And you really, really love it because the people, they care about their cities, they care about their towns.
He's talking about roads. Alabama has some good roads, but I've driven all across the South, and there are some really bad roads in the South. So just be careful be mindful, watch for potholes.
They have a very
And with that, I think that's pretty much the end of this video. I'll let him, let's see. Yeah, he's just gonna do his ad. Um, but yeah, so overall, I agree with some of it, disagree with some of it. My biggest don't of visiting the South is don't be afraid to ask for help. Like, seriously. Because it is, he's right about that. Like, people are genuinely helpful. And yeah, so hope y'all enjoyed. I'll catch y'all on the next one. Peace.